Outlander fans, we're back for episode 2 of season 5 of your favourite show on TV, Outlander. The Droughtlander is well and truly over. We've got episode 2. We just finished watching it. It was a really good one. I'm Rob Licuria. I'm senior editor here at Gold Derby, and I'm here with my wife, Paula Sullivan-Licuria. Say hello. Sorry.
Hi.
We're back to talk about episode 2, Between Two Fires. That was written by Tony Graffia and Luke Shellhus and directed by Stephen Wolfenden, who also directed the premiere. So Stephen Wolfenden is obviously pulling his weight. Just a brief rundown of what this episode was all about in case you've forgotten. As Jamie continues to hunt Murtagh with the aid of the zealous Lieutenant Hamilton Knox, he's forced to consider whether or not he's on the right side of history. By the way, a huge part of the whole season. Meanwhile, when a resident of Fraser's Ridge dies from a preventable ailment, which had been exacerbated by an ill-informed though well-intentioned use of folk medicine, Claire considers using modern methods to keep the settlers safe. Again, a huge part of this season. So, there's a lot to talk about in this one. I liked this one. In fact, controversy, I liked this one more than the first one.
Stop.
Yeah.
Man. You're hard heart, man.
You love the first one because of the wedding.
Yes, I did. And I'm not going to shy from that.
Wedding schmedding, I don't care about that stuff.
But this was a good episode, you're right. So many,
really good
I don't know, where should I, okay, again, I could be here for hours, but I know you people do not have this time. Where do you want me to start? Where should I start?
Well, I think we should start with, let's go deep.
Okay.
For a second, just for a second, okay? And then we'll go back to superficial.
Okay, go.
Claire blames herself for her family being there with her in the wildness of whatever that year that is, and not in the modern day. It's a big thing that weighs on her that I never quite appreciated. Thoughts, opinions, comments, please, because that's a really important factor.
Okay, I never really picked that up in the books that she, again, don't forget, I read The Fiery Cross about, how long ago was season 1? About 4 years ago. I don't remember much from this book, but as I watch the episodes and I flick through my book that I've still been working on, I am reminded of a few like little tidbits, but Claire being worried that they're not in the modern era didn't really strike me as a big thing in the book, but I really appreciated it in the TV show, especially when I think it was in this episode where you have Claire and Roger and they're having a conversation after Roger had another conversation with Brianna, and Brianna's like, no, I want to stay. My family is here. And I think it's also in this particular episode where it's shown Claire having lots and lots of patients outside her surgery, which is now in the big house. And for those who haven't picked up on the fact, Claire and Jamie now live in the big house, which is that big, beautiful house at the top of the hill, while Brianna, Roger, and Jenny live in the little cottage that Jamie originally built when they first moved to Fraser's Ridge. Just so you know. And so I could understand where Brianna was coming from. She's got this love for her mother, and you could see she missed it when her mother went back through the stones. Now she's with her mother and she's met her biological father. I think for Brianna, her whole, other than Bonnet, let's just put that to one side. I think Brianna is so happy that she has her family with her. She's married the man that she loves. She's got a son that she loves, and everyone's still umming and ahhing over to who the father is. And Roger's just gone, he's mine. Right? Because of the whole scene that happened between Bonnet and Brianna. So Roger's gone, he's mine, no further talk about it, end of story. And so Roger poses the question to Brianna, let's go back. And she's like, no, I want to stay here. My family is here. Then Roger has a conversation with Claire, and even Claire wants them to go back. And I was like, wow, I did that. I don't remember that. There are other things that happen. Again, spoiler alert, I'm not going to say what it is. But I do know that there is more talk about time travel later on. But I didn't think that this sentiment was so soon in the book that Claire wanted them to go somewhere where it's safer, where you don't die of a cut in your hand because you haven't cleaned it properly, or, because there is a lack of penicillin and so many other things, like you said in this your little overview, that people could die of something easily treatable. So I think that's what scares Claire, and I think that's why she wants to go back. And Roger, on the other hand, has a whole different gamut of reasons why he wants to go back. Or would you like to know?
Sure.
Roger wants to go. No, it's not a spoiler. If people have not picked up on it by now, then obviously it's a spoiler. But if you are a fan of the book, even if you haven't read the book, you've got to remember where Roger came from. He is a scholar. He is a professor at university. He was raised by a minister, right, that he called his father, even though his real father was a World War I pilot. So who died in his airplane crashing, I believe. I could be wrong. So for Roger, this time period just doesn't gel with him. He, even on the day of his morning of his wedding, where Jamie comes to help him shave, they have a conversation. Roger doesn't know how to chop wood. He can't shoot, and then on the night of his wedding, Jamie creates him Captain Roger Mackenzie of Fraser's Ridge. And you see that little flicker in Roger's eye. He's scared because he doesn't know how to do any of this that is essentially second nature to Jamie and all these other men living on the ridge who have survived countless battles. And even if they haven't, they've been brought up in a time period where carrying a gun to hunt for your food is commonplace. Roger's a scholar. His weapon of choice is a book. So you do feel for Roger, and he is now trying to find his way in the Carolina wilderness. And not just that, he's trying to find a place in his family and gain not so much trust, but admiration from Jamie. That is where Roger's character development is going to go for this season.
It's very fascinating. We're getting a different perspective on a different kind of man, because so far most of the men have been kind of like Jamie, or kind of like the villain.
Exactly.
Speaking of villain, and speaking of villains, Bonnet sees himself as the father to Brianna's son, and is now becoming a gentleman. So he is transforming now into someone who's going to have some power. Perhaps I'm not quite sure how that's going to kind of transition over the season. I'm looking forward to it. I want to see more Bonnet. Do you like the character Bonnet?
I like the character Bonnet. We need a villain. At the end of the day, this season we've got, was it Lieutenant Knox, I believe. We've got him. He's not a very nice bloke at the end of the day.
I've got to say, by the way, he's out of control. What a nutcase. And there's a lot of talk between him and Jamie about us and them. Like, how's that going to...
Yeah.
Is that going to be a theme throughout the season as well?
In regards to the regulators, I think yes. I don't think we've seen Knox in this episode. I don't think we've seen the end of him. But I think if we're going to talk about us and them, again, the redcoats versus the regulators, I think that's how Knox sees it. And Jamie, again, is walking that fine line between understanding where the regulators come from, because he understands their position and he's been on that side before. And then the fact that in order to get his, I think it was 10,000 acres from the governor, he's had to sign an agreement that if needed, and at the governor's request, he needs to raise a militia to help provide an army for the governor whenever he needs it. And I think that was the dice that Jamie rolled back at the end of season 4 in order to get his 10,000 acres. Now, this is like even in the book, Jamie says to Claire, I wish it hadn't, I knew it was coming. I didn't realise it was so soon, or something to that effect. So, yeah, so Jamie's walking that fine line. So Knox isn't necessarily a great guy. You can, and I'm not saying all red coats are bad guys. This particular guy is not a good guy. But going back to Bonnet, could Lippin really change his spots?
Probably not.
Probably not. Just because Bonnet has suddenly got these nice new fancy clothes and he's got money, is he really a changed man to prove his worth to be the father, possible father, to Brianna's son? I don't think so. I reckon this guy's gonna get his comeuppance sooner or later, but I'm not gonna say anything.
No. Let's talk about the highlight for me now, and that is the whole Claire assuming the identity of this Dr. Rawlings to write lists of medical tips for the people of the village, and also bringing in Marcelly as her medical apprentice while we look at this really hideous body that she's trying to do an autopsy on. I had no idea that this was coming, obviously. I knew what this season was going to be about. I didn't know that this was going to be a major plot point throughout the season, and I love it. I think it's my favourite part of it. I look forward to watching Caitriona Balfe's horror when her character Claire is seeing what people are doing, the bloodletting and the stupidity and taking zinc or whatever, or mercury, and then making, that was the reason why the guy died. And so she's now trying once again to be the healer, Claire the healer, to come to the rescue of all these dim-witted morons who don't know anything about medicine. And I love it. I think it's great. I think it's really cool that Marcelly is becoming her apprentice. Marcelly's a smart girl, so she picked the right person. What are your thoughts on that whole part of the storyline before we wrap up?
I have a few.
Oh, okay. Get comfortable, people. We're going to be here a while.
Okay. All right. So starting off, yes, when I've been flicking through the book, I've noticed that a lot of the chapters are about Claire and her medical expertise. But all of them are about, again, what we talked about, things that are preventable. And so I haven't found it in the book. I do believe she does in the book print some stuff under Dr. Rawlings, who owned the medical kit, which she now owns, that Jamie gave her on the barge on the way to River Run, if memory serves correct. So I like it how Claire is dealing with all of this, things that are preventable, and for a modern, even in her time in the 60s, to be a surgeon as a female, don't forget, that was one hurdle she crossed already. So for her to see such things as preventable, Caitriona does a great job of just displaying how frustrating that is for a woman in her position and for a woman of her education. So I get that. And a lot of the surgeries, even in the book, are about preventable stuff. Teeth pulling. I just read that one this morning, so that's why I remember it. But there were others. And I love the fact that Marcelly is going to be her apprentice. I think it's amazing. And the conversation where Marcelly's like, my mum was right, you are a witch. And I love how we brought in Leary in that aspect. That was a nice little shout out. I love it. I can't wait to see more. But in saying that, I vaguely remember, I don't know if you've noticed in the show, but the one that is meant to become her apprentice, I thought was Lizzie, which is Brianna's, for want of a better word, servant, the one that she bought back in Scotland and came over with her. So I thought her little assistant was supposed to be Lizzie, but I love that it's Marcelly. Bring more Fergus and Marcelly in more, because I love those characters. I think they're awesome. They're bringing in the new generation of Frasers onto Fraser's Ridge. They've got Jermaine. We found out that Marcelly's pregnant last episode. Bring it. I love it. I love Marcelly. I think she's a cool character. She's a great actress. I'd love to see more of her.
Okay, well, let's hope that we do. In the meantime, everybody, make sure you stick with Gold Derby because, quite frankly, we have so much Outlander, it's going to make your head spin. We've got galleries, we've got articles, we've got recaps because we love the show, we really do, and we love the characters, and we're so glad to be back on the airwaves with this show, along this journey with all of you. Click subscribe so that you don't miss any of our chats. And make sure you come back next week for more. And before I go, if you're watching this on the Sunday that the show aired, we should be wishing Paula a happy birthday. She's turning 21 today. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
See you all next week.
Bye.